intermittent fasting has been the best diet I have tried so far. So why is that? I'm gonna have a lot of details for you in this video, and I have tried quite a few diets so I can tell you about them. And so the problem that I've actually been trying to solve while trying these diets was to reduce the amount of abdominal fat. And I have tried quite a few diets over the years, one of which was the caloric deficit diets. The other one would have been the more frequent meals but less portions. And then I finally tried the intermittent fasting diet, and I wish I could have tried it sooner. So, why is that? It is because let's take a look into the caloric deficit diet first, because this one was the first one I tried, and how did I feel about it? And I went into the caloric deficit diet back when I was in college, back in 2010. So this was a while ago, and I really remember the details of that semester where I tried the caloric deficit diet because I wanted to lose weight, especially around my abdominal area. And I did drop some weight. That was that was the effective part about it. But in that process was a very painful process because in order to drop 1 pound, I think I had to lose about 3,000 to 3,000. I had to run a deficit of 3,000 to 3,500 calories. I don't remember specifically, but it was in that range. So if I wanted to lose a pound in a week, that is the deficit I have to run, which is actually quite difficult because that means I would have to divide 3,000 to 3,500 calories by 7, and that is going to come out to be quite a it's going to be quite a bit of an amount to take into consideration. And I just remember having to go to sleep in hunger just to lose that weight, and that is not a good feeling. That is one tough part about it. And the other part about it is I still continue to do my workouts, and when I am running a caloric deficit, I personally felt like I was not having the optimal amount of strength in order to continue progressing in my workouts. So that in that sense it was tough, even though I got to drop weight. And I did that for about 3-4 months before I got off the diet because I just did not feel good afterwards. I was dropping the weights, but I was also feeling quite weak at the gym, and so I stopped it. And shortly after I stopped it, I basically have gained a lot of that weight back because I was just feeling so hungry. So that was the first time I tried a different diet that was that was away from the norm from how I was eating. And then I've been on the more frequent but less portions diet. That was for a couple of years, for quite some time. That was, I mean, that one was not painful like the caloric deficit diet, and I was able to do that for quite some time because it was not painful. And what was what was it was not effective either because I was not losing weight around the abdominal area. In fact, I was putting on more weight until I was in my early 30s doing that. And it was also very time consuming because I basically split my eating habits into 5 meals. And it was just, you can imagine just trying to eat every 3-4 hours. And that was, even though it was enjoyable at the time, just looking back, it was like sometimes I'm just wondering, like, do I have to eat that many meals? And I got off that in my early 30s back in 2021, and I've because it was just I was not making progress in reducing fats. So I've always done some research on intermittent fasting, and what has put me off at first was the amount of effort that I thought I would have to put in. Namely, the first step is to actually not eat for the 16 hours, because that is the very first window that I will have to meet in order to perform intermittent fasting and to actually get some kind of a benefit from intermittent fasting. So 16 hours did not seem very appealing to me, and I thought I was going to get into a very hungry mode in that 16 hours. And in fact, I did. For the first a week or two, when I was still adjusting, it was a little hard to adjust. But after I adjusted, I started seeing results. I mean, this is going to be over a span of quite a few months, and I'm sure everyone's going to vary depending on how they do it. But I started seeing results, seeing the fat in my abdominal area to start going down, and I've actually started seeing more shape of my abs, like maybe a year afterwards. So that was a process, but intermittent fasting I've actually been doing for over the past 4 years, and I mean I would say that I've been feeling great as opposed to what I was initially expecting. I thought it was going to be a lot of hunger throughout the day because of the amount of time I have to not eat, but that was not the case for me. And everything I'm saying here is just based on my experiences, but that worked out for me. I did not feel hungry for a lot of the day, actually, and now I'm actually a lot more metabolically flexible. Like, I could just eat whenever I want. Right now I eat regularly 1 meal a day, and it did not really affect my strength like the caloric deficit diet. It does not affect my strength at all, really. Sometimes I would go on these fasted workouts and actually feels great because I feel like I'm actually using more of my reserved energy, which is more of your fats. And I feel like I'm a lot more mentally clear, because if I was to eat more frequently throughout the day, I would feel like there's more of that digestion going on in your mind, and much more mentally clear, and in addition to all the benefits that we know about fasting, of course. So I do see myself continuously to do this over a longer term, unlike the other diets that I have done before and haven't really seen the results that I have seen in the past 4 years. So that's it for this video. Comment questions in the comment section below. Like if you want me to continue talking about, if you want to hear me continue to talk about my journey in intermittent fasting.